back, relax, and maybe get yourself a snack. Me and you gonna have a little chat about books. Hey guys, so I am here today to sit down and tell you guys about my TBR for the NEWTs readathon. This is a readathon which is being hosted throughout the entirety of August, and it's being run by Book Roast. I will put a link to her announcement video down below, and I assume quite a few of you might have already heard of this. It's definitely one that's very, very popular because it is magic themed and Harry Potter themed, to be more specific. And it's kind of the second part of this readathon because originally she started the Owls readathon, which is kind of a readathon that takes place earlier in the year, and I participated in the Owls. And then the NEWTs is supposed to be kind of the continuation of the Owls, where whatever you earned in your original readathon, you then get to go on to the next level and kind of try and progress to actually getting a wizarding career. So I was very ambitious with the Owls, and I aimed for the full set of Owls because I thought that would give me the best possibility of becoming whatever career I wanted. And for the Owls, I did actually manage to get 11 of them out of 12. The only one that I didn't get within the Owls readathon was Astronomy, and that one was a book that had star on the cover, or had a star on the cover, or had star in the title, and I just didn't get to that. I just didn't have the chance to finish it in the month, and so I kind of put that one on hold. But when I was watching the NEWTs announcement video, Book Roast did say that if you wanted to read a book in June or July, which counted for an owl, she was going to kind of on the sly let you do that. So I have since read a book that has stars on the cover of it, and that is this one by Bradley Beaulieu. This is A Veil of Spears, and if you look closely you can see in the sky there are some little stars. So I have read this one, and I'm going to count this as Astronomy, which means I have indeed completed all of the Owls, and I can therefore do any of the wizarding careers I would like. However, it's not easy to get into some of the more tricky careers that I would like to get. So my kind of decision on what I was gonna do, I wanted to be the hardest one because I am insane, and that is an alchemist. And I wanted to get an alchemist. In order to get an alchemist, you need to read 17 books, so that is a lot. So whether or not I will achieve that, I don't know, but one of the other, or maybe two of the other careers that I could go for include the Metal Charmer, which is 12 NEWTs, and the Healer, which is 10, because they have some crossover with the Alchemist route in terms of the prompts and the books and the exams you have to take. So the way that the NEWTs work is that you have to go through A to E to O, which is acceptable, exceeds expectations, and then outstanding. You cannot do it out of order. You have to go through them in that order to actually achieve the examination qualification that you want. And for each of the careers that there are, you have to achieve certain grades in those NEWTs in order to achieve your career. So without further ado, for the Alchemist, I'm going to tell you everything that I want to read, and then from there I'm also going to tell you the extra books, or the books that I could switch in to read for Metal Charmer or Healer if I don't get the time in August to do all the books for the Alchemist route, which is very possible because I am away for 10 days of August in Dublin, and I know that I'm going to be sightseeing and then going to Worldcon in the day, and I really do not think I will have much brain power left to sit down and do reading, much as I'd love to after like sightseeing and days out and going to a convention. So I might have to scale back my plans, which is why I'm looking into the routes for Metal Charmer and Healer as well, because I think they are more achievable. But we're going to aim high. So for the Alchemist, you need to get an O in Ancient Runes, which means that you have to do all three of the prompts. So the first prompt is a book recommended by a friend, and for this one I've chosen Things to Make and Break, which is by Meilan Tan. This is, I believe, a short book that Mercedes recommended to me a long time ago from Mercy's Bookish Musings. I never got around to it when she first sent it,
but she said she really enjoyed it and I definitely want to try it out. I believe it's a magical realism inspired short story collection, and it was one of the books that she did in her subscription box a long time ago. So I'm very excited to kind of get into this and find out why she liked it so much. I don't know much more than that, but definitely one I'm keen to get to, and it's been on my TBR for ages. And you'll notice going through these books that I have definitely chosen, for the majority of books, short books, because I want to try and make this achievable. I don't know how achievable it's going to be, but I would like to think that if I aim, you know, realistic, then I might actually achieve it. So this is the first book I'm hoping to get to. Next up, for Ancient Runes, you need to read a book that's written in the past tense, and for this one I've chosen Besieged, Life Under Fire on a Sarajevo Street by Barbara Demick. This is the same author who wrote another book which I really enjoyed called Nothing to Envy about North Korea, and this is another non-fiction look at, in this case, Sarajevo. So I'm very intrigued about this. I want to find out more. I don't really know much about the topic. Non-fiction is quite easy reading and it's quite different from a lot of the other stuff that's on this TBR, so I think I will be able to finish this one up, fingers crossed. And then if I get through both of those, to achieve an outstanding rank, I need to read a book that has been on my TBR for ages, which there are so many that I could have chosen for this. But the one I've chosen is another one which actually was recommended by Mercedes, and that is How to Breathe Underwater by Julie Oringa. I'm not sure if this is a short story collection or if it is an actual book, but it's all about childhood and immersion in fears and longings, friendships, bitter sibling battles, parents that row and boys that won't dance with you. And then it's also about the exhilarating moments of victory. So it sounds like it's going to be quite lyrical and quite different to a lot of my fantasy reads. And again, that's why I've chosen it. I want something a bit different that's going to hopefully hook me in and keep me reading. And it's, again, a fairly short read. So one that I've had for years now. So next up, to become an alchemist, you need an O, an outstanding in arithmancy. And for this one, I needed a book which ended on an even number, which surprisingly not that many do. But I did find one, and that is this one, Harpy's Flight by Megan Lindholm, who is also Robin Hobb. It's another pseudonym that she has, that she writes under. I believe her kind of Megan Lindholm stuff is a little bit more urban fantasy, and Robin Hobb is a much more epic fantasy. I tend to prefer epic fantasy, but I'm going to give this one a try and see if I want to read some of her other stuff under Megan Lindholm. Next up, I needed to read a standalone book, and I believe this one is a standalone. This is a book that was sent to me by the author. It's called Drones, and it's by Rob J. Hayes. I've really enjoyed a lot of his stories, and this is a short sci-fi crime investigation kind of one crossover, I believe. It says Garrick's a drone going to ever-increasing extremes to sell emotions, but he does it for reason because some memories are just too painful to bear. And I believe it's got kind of a crime element to it, and obviously the cover itself looks like quite futuristic and sci-fi. So I'm definitely excited about this. I've enjoyed all of Rob J. Hayes' books so far, so hopefully this will be quite an easy one to get into, and I do believe it's standalone. Next up, I needed one that was 350 pages or more, and so for this one I've chosen one of my SBFBO books because it's basically almost exactly 350. It's actually 352 pages, and that is Up to the Throne, which is by Toby Frost. If you want to know anything about any of the SBFBO titles, then I did a full video very recently where I kind of went into detail about each of them, and I linked them all, so I'll link that video for you to go find out more, but hopefully I'll get to this within the month. Next up, you need an O in Herbology as well. So for this one, you need to read an audiobook, which for me is going to be very easy because I am already planning to do a reread of a series, and I'm hoping that I will get to The Blood Mirror by Brent Weeks on audio by August because I am hosting a read-along. I will tell you guys more details about that very soon, but I'm going to be hosting a readathon and obviously I need to read the book, so it makes sense for me to audiobook it because I have them all on audio. I love the audio narrator and I'm very keen to kind of finish this series up before the final one in it comes out, so that's my choice for audiobook. Next up, I've chosen another one of my SBFBO titles because I needed a book that was between 350 and 390 pages. So I've gone for one that's 380, and that is Seraphina's Lament by Sarah Chon. This is a book that is definitely one of the ones I'm most intrigued about on my SBFBO list, and I'm definitely looking forward to kind of finding out whether some of the hype I've heard about it is worth it or not. It's quite a lyrical read, I believe, and I'm looking forward to it. Next up, I need to reread a favourite, and for this I think I might start rereading either Harry Potter or Robin Hobb. Haven't decided, gonna leave that one open and just see how I feel at the time, because I've got loads of favourite books, so I could just choose any of them. Next up, we also need an O outstanding in potions. So for this one I need to read a friend's favourite book, and I couldn't remember anyone's actual favourites, but I do remember a while ago when James read this book, he absolutely loved it, and that is Ambelo. So I'm pretty keen to get to it. It's by Lara Eleanor Donnelly, and I don't really know much about it except the fact that everyone who has read it seems to think it's really good. It's set in a decadent era, just before a political coup is about to set the city on fire. So it sounds like it will be quite a fast-paced, kind of catchy storyline, and I love the cover art. I just think it's absolutely gorgeous. So I'm really looking forward to reading this one finally, and hopefully really enjoying it. Next up, I need to read a book which has my Hogwarts house's colour on it. So I am a Ravenclaw, which means the house colour is blue. So for that, I've chosen basically my shortest blue book, because I just want to squeeze some little ones in so that I can actually complete the challenges. And this is a novella. It's called Proof of Concept by Gwyneth Jones. I picked this one up ages ago, but I don't really remember too much about it. It just is set in an overcrowded futuristic Earth, which is crippled by climate change, and I believe it's all about science and how big science can hopefully keep the Earth going. So it sounds like a very fascinating concept. Whether or not it's executed well, I don't know, but I'm definitely keen to give it a try and see what it's all about. And I've not read anything by this author before, so it'll be an interesting new kind of adventure. Next up, I have a book which starts with a prologue. Luckily, being a fantasy and sci-fi reader, this was quite easy because a lot of the books in series and in fantasy and sci-fi start with prologues, but the one I've chosen to go with is quite a light-hearted one. I believe it's called Arabella of Mars, and it's by David D. Levine. I've heard really good things about this from Thomas and a couple of other people who've read and really enjoyed it. It seems like it's quite an underrated kind of book, but it's short and it's one that I think will be a lot of fun. It's set in the time of William III of England, and it's about a guy called William Kidd who is commanded to go for the first expedition to Mars in the 1600s. And it sounds like it's just going to be a bit wacky, but I'm very much up for that, and I think it'll be a nice change from some of the heavier reads on my TBR, so looking forward to this. Next up, I also need an outstanding in Transfiguration. So for this one, I need a book that has LGBTQ rep. And I have chosen a book which I know has LGBT because it actually says that it is an entirely LGBT cast, and this is City of Strife, an Isandor novel by Claudine Arsenault. I don't really know too much about the actual story, but I know it's about feuding families and it's quite a political sort of fantasy. So that's all I really need to know, and LGBT was the main draw for me on this one, so I'm definitely looking forward to getting to it and finding out what it's all about and whether it's any good. Next up, I need to read a book that is not the first in a series, so I've chosen Age of Legends, which is by Michael J. Sullivan. This one is the fourth book in his Legends of the First Empire series, and I have this one on audio and I'm planning to get to it at some point soon anyway, and I just wanted to go back to this world because I find it super fun, and the female characters and the representation is really, really fun as well. So I think he does a good job of classic fantasy, but with some stereotypes being broken. So I'm looking forward to going back to that. Next up, I need a book which is over 500 pages. So for that one, I've chosen this book, which is just about over 500, it's about 520. It's Beneath the Twisted Trees by Bradley Beaulieu. This is, I think, the fourth book in his series, which started off with the 12 Kings of Sharakai, and I recently read the third, as I showed you in the beginning, and I really enjoyed it, going back to this world, and I want to keep it fresh in my mind and go straight on to this one. I have the audiobook as well, so I'll probably listen to it, but I'm very excited to get back to this. I can't tell you guys much about it because it is the fourth book, but definitely a series that I enjoy and one that I'm looking forward to getting to. And then finally for Alchemist, I need an E and exceeds expectations in Astronomy. So thank goodness I read the third one in Bradley Beaulieu's series. So the prompts for this are, I need a book which has a moon either on the cover or in the title. And I found this book on my shelves which has a very beautiful moon right on the cover, as you can see right there. It's called Unwrapped Sky by Rurik Davidson, and I don't even remember where I got this from. I think I bought it, but I can't remember if it was like at a convention or something like that. I bought it ages ago, and it's got Hanu Ranyemi, Scott Westerfeld and Garth Nix all endorsing it, which I think is why I bought the book. But other than that, I don't honestly know kind of what made me buy it. Kind of sounds a little bit like magic is not really a thing, and it used to be. So maybe we're going to uncover exactly what happened to it. And then the second prompt for this one is to have a book which has night in either the series title or the book title. So for this one, I've chosen a book which, if I finish it, will actually complete a series, which is good, and that is Beyond the Shadows by Brent Weeks. I am already going to be rereading Brent Weeks' other series, the Lightbringer series, and I never ever completed the Night Angel series. So I wanted to. I've only read the first two, so if I do complete Beyond the Shadows, then the Night Angel trilogy will be completed, and I'll be very happy about that because I really enjoyed these books when I started them. They're quite simplistic, but they're about thieving and it's just a good time. So I think I'll definitely enjoy this. I just need to get back to it. So hopefully this prompt will push me to do that. So now moving on to the backup options. For Metal Charmer, I need to get an O in charms. So for this, I need a book with a gorgeous cover. And for that one, I've chosen In an Absent Dream by Shannon Maguire because all of her covers are absolutely stunning, as you can see. No more needs to be said. It's the fourth one in the Wayward Children series, actually, and I really enjoy this series. It's a novella series all about children who are quite different and unique, and it's just a lot of fun, so I'm looking forward to returning to this world again. Then you need to read a comic or graphic novel. So for this one, I'm leaving it open. I have quite a few downstairs on my other shelf that I've not read yet, so I can choose from any of them, but I'm leaving it open as to what I feel like at the time, because that kind of thing is very mood read for me. The final prompt for charms is to read a paperback, which, I mean, that's easy for me, but I've chosen literally the smallest paperback that I own, and that is the Expanded Companion Guide to the World of Linnera. I own the first book and I have read the first book in this series by L.L. McNeil, and I have the second but have not yet read that. I believe this is just a companion to the world to explain some things and just give a little bit more insight and detail. It's tiny, as I say, literally like 75 pages. So I'm really excited to read this one, and I absolutely love the dragon on the front. I just think that's super cool artwork, so definitely keen to get to this. And then the next one that I need is an A in Defense Against the Dark Arts for Metal Charmer, and the prompt for that is a book which is black underneath the dust jacket. So again, with being a fantasy reader, luckily this is quite easy because most of the ones under the jackets are black. So I've chosen Road Brothers by Mark Lawrence, and this one, as you can see, is black underneath the dust jacket. It's just plain, nothing too exciting, but this is a book that I've been wanting to read for a while. I do enjoy Mark Lawrence's stuff, and this is from the Broken Empire. It's different tales from the Broken Empire. I fully intend to read more of Mark Lawrence's works at some point, and I think this will get me back into his world, so I'm going to read this one if I get a chance. And then finally for Healer, because all of the other prompts that come under Metal Charmer would be covered if I did complete the majority of the Alchemist ones, and same with the Healer. If I completed either the Metal Charmer or Alchemist ones, then I would probably complete almost all of the ones for Healer. So the only other one that would be extra is that I would actually need an E in Defense Against the Dark Arts if I was going for Healer, and for that one I just need the first book that I think of from my TBR. So I started planning this out before and therefore can't really just off the cusp think of one. So I'm going to leave this open and just get to it as and when I arrive at that prompt, if I do. That is my TBR, which is insane. I realise that is like 20 books or something crazy. So my thought is I'm going to aim for Alchemist, but I'm going to start off with the ones that I need for the Metal Charmer and the Healer, so that even if I don't get all the Alchemist ones, I do get at least one of those as a career path. So hopefully I can manage it. Wish me luck. I'd love to know in the comments kind of what your TBR is and what profession you're going for. Thank you all so much for watching. Go over and watch Book Roast's video because she's put so much time and effort into this readathon and it's going to be great. And I will see you all very soon in another video. Bye guys!
Thank you for watching my video today. Go pick up a book, then come back and chat with me again.